Welcome back to another video from your IT Explained. In this video we're going to go through the redistribution between BGP and OSPF and some basic troubleshooting that you're likely to run into when you're either conducting this in a lab, in the real world, or in your Cisco's CCNP ENARSI exam. So what you see on screen at the moment has all been configured as far as the BGP processes on router 1, 2 and 5 and the OSPF processes on router 5, 3 and 4, the respective IP addresses and associating those networks into the routing protocols on each device. What hasn't been done is the actual redistribution configuration on router 5 between BGP and OSPF. So just to give you a bit of an idea, let's go into router 2. I'll just open up console session and let's just have a look what's in the routing table. So router 2, it's just got the connected routes at the moment. So it's only got this network, and router 1 should have the same connected, but then this should come up as a BGP route, the 10.200.250/0.0/30 network. Sorry. Let's just check that. Open up a console session and show IP route. Yep, you can see there's that one BGP route coming through. Excellent. But they're not going to be able to ping any of the OSPF routes, and then same thing if I go onto these OSPF devices, they're not going to be able to ping or see those other networks because the redistribution has not been configured. So let's dive straight into it and configure it on router 5. Alright, so first actually the EN, and now if I do show IP route on this device, now you can see this one already knows OSPF and BGP because it has both routing processes configured and running. Let's just show you what is in the config so you get a better idea of what's already been configured. We'll start here. So you can see I've just configured router OSPF 1, basic network advertisements, and then router BGP 250, because that's what this one is, Autonomous System 250. And then this is a default command that just I didn't type that in, that's already there. And then I just added one network advertisement and one neighbor statement for the Autonomous System 200 neighbor, and that's it. So if we want BGP and OSPF to redistribute mutually, it's quite simple. If you followed the previous video between EIGRP and OSPF, it's basically the same, just some slight changes. So firstly, let's go and redistribute BGP into OSPF. So if we're redistributing BGP into OSPF, what routing process are we going to go into? It's OSPF, so you always go into the process that you're redistributing into. So if I'm redistributing BGP into OSPF, you go into OSPF. And just as we've done in the past, redistribute BGP, Autonomous System 250. That's it. That's all we're doing. There's that one line there. So now, if I go over to router 3 or 4, let's have a look what we see. I'll console into router 4. And now we can see these OSPF external type 2 routes for 10.100 and 10.200. So these two BGP routes. So that's all that it took. Now we can immediately see those networks. Let's go back to router 5 and redistribute the other way. So now let's go router, and I'm going to redistribute into BGP. So BGP, Autonomous System 250, redistribute, OSPF, process ID 1. Done. Alright, now let's go look at router 1. So console into that one. show IP route, and would you look at that? Instantly they've come up. So if I want to ping, so if I go from router 1 and ping all the way over to this interface here, so 172.16.100.4, let's see what happens. So router 1, ping 172.16.100.4. Was it 100? Let me just double check. Yep. Success. So how easy was that? Simple. Didn't have to do any custom configuration or changes. It just works straight away. Now we know that it works the other way in reverse because the ping traffic has to not only reach the end device but also return. So that's it. Done. But there is some special nuances that you're likely going to be tested on and potentially could run into. That's probably going to answer your question about what is this box over here doing. So let me just delete that box, and I've set up an EIGRP router over here. Let me just connect it. I'll just go from here to here. Now hopefully router 0 is already configured with EIGRP and it's all good to go. I'm just going to have to make a small change on router 4 to get EIGRP set up, and then the mutual redistribution between OSPF and EIGRP. And then we'll see what the real issue is. So let me just console in and go here, interface. I think it's 01. Let me just double check. Yes, 01. IP address, and this one is actually 10, 20, 30, and then 1. And I'm pretty sure /24. And then I'm just going to have to go into this. I made it autonomous system 100. Network 10.20.30.0. Oops. And then up comes the neighbor adjacency. So now I should be able to, if I exit out of this, ping 10.20.30.10. Excellent. Alright, so if that was too fast, then apologies. You can go back and watch the OSPF and EIGRP redistribution video. But I've just configured the EIGRP information here on this device, and now I'm just going to go into, oops, I need to go up here first, into EIGRP 100, and we're going to redistribute OSPF process ID 1. And then, remembering what we learnt last time, got to match some things. Sorry, not match, metric some things. So I'm just going to do 1 million, and then 1,255, 1,1500. Exit out of that. Router, OSPF. And now if you're not following along here, you need to probably go back and watch the previous video, the lab video on redistributing between OSPF and EIGRP. But if you have, hopefully this is all making sense so far. And then autonomous system 100. That's it. So now, if I go into router 0, hopefully I can see all of the OSPF routes. End and show IP route. Excellent. So I can see the OSPF routes here, and I can see the BGP routes. Would you look at that? So the 10.100 and the 10.200. So straight away, the router 0 can now see these networks because we still have the mutual redistribution here. But let's have a look. What happens if router 0 tries to ping? We'll try router 1's interface over here. 10.100.200.1. Ping 10.100.200.1, which we do have an entry in our routing table for that network, but it's failing. And that is because of something specific with the redistribution here on router 5 that we need to fix. Now if I go to router 1, let's just have a look what happens on router 1 in its routing table, so you can have a better understanding of what's going wrong. So we're troubleshooting here. And router 1 does not know how to get to this network over here, which is 10.20.30.0. So it doesn't know how to return back when it receives those ping requests. And you might be asking, well, why not? Why did it work this way? Why did EIGRP learn about the BGP routes, but BGP did not learn about the EIGRP routes? And this is what we're going to find out right now on router 5. So back into router 5. Actually, I can just close that and go back to this one over here. So let's just have a quick look at the config. So show run and begin at OSPF. So in OSPF, we're redistributing BGP 250, and then it's added in that subnets keyword for us as well. So it behaves like in the previous video. It'll automatically add that in for you if you don't manually specify it when you're redistributing BGP into OSPF. And then on BGP, here we have the Redistribute OSPF 1. So it's all pretty much as we would expect, but it's not redistributing the EIGRP routes into BGP. And the reason is the default behavior when redistributing OSPF into BGP is to only redistribute OSPF internal routes. Okay, so on router 5, if I go show IP route, this is an internal OSPF route, and so it has been advertised into BGP. This, however, is an external type 2 route, and so it has not been redistributed into BGP. That's why if I go to router 1, we'll see 172.16.100, but not 10.20.30. 172.16.100, but there is no 10.20.30. So to rectify that, we go in. So hopefully you can guess what we're about to go into. We're going to go into BGP 250 because we're fixing up the redistribution into BGP. We go back to the same command we used before, redistributing OSPF 1, but now there is some additional information we need to put in. So these are the options. Now this is where we're going to use that command I accidentally almost used before, match. And these are the options that you have. So what you're going to specify is basically a list of the things that you want redistributed into BGP. So I still want internal OSPF routes redistributed in, but I also want, so if I go question mark, you can see I can also now put in external. Now there's an option after that of what type of external do I want to redistribute in. Just type 1 or just type 2? I can't specify both of them together, unfortunately. So I'll do type 1 and now external type 2. So I've just created a list of the things that I want redistributed into BGP thanks to the match command. So redistribute OSPF 1 match internal, external type 1 and external type 2. Enter. So now if I go to router 1 and do a show IP route, voila, now we see that external OSPF type 2 route redistributed into BGP. Now it just comes up as a regular BGP route, as you can see here with the B, same as it does down here, but we can actually see that network all the way over in BGP, in EIGRP. So if I go to ping 10.20.30.10, success. So that's all the way from here, from BGP through multiple autonomous systems in eBGP into OSPF into EIGRP. success all the way through. So hopefully you've followed along and it wasn't too confusing. If it was, you may just need to go back and revisit some of the previous videos that we've put up. Otherwise, I thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.